He's the most wanted man in the galaxy, but nobody knows who he really is. To the Dark Angels, he's a ghost from their darkest shame. To the Inquisition, he's a walking galactic threat. And to Chaos, he's the strangest hobo they've ever seen. His name is Cypher, and his true identity remains one of Warhammer 40K's greatest secrets. Welcome back to Cow's Corner, the corner of the galaxy where we tackle the strangest, wildest, and sometimes dumbest questions a cow could possibly think of. And today's question has haunted the Imperium for 10,000 years. Who is Cypher? In this video, we're breaking down his mysterious history, the chaos he stirred across the galaxy, and the leading theories about who is this hooded gunslinger. And before we jump into this video, if you've got a 40k question that's been rotting in your brain, drop it in the comments. If I like it enough, it might become the next Cow's Corner video.
How much money would it take to make you spend a night in a cemetery?
But wait, there's more. I have another announcement. If you were a fan of who was the strongest space marine from the Horus Heresy, then you're in luck, because we are going to be releasing the sequel to that video, but now in 40k. So stay tuned for that. It will be dropping in probably 2 to 3 weeks, just based on how long the script is, and it's gonna be a long one, fellas. So stay tuned for that one, you don't want to miss it. But back to Cypher. Let's start at the beginning, before Cypher became the Imperium's ultimate problem. To understand who he might be today, we first need to look at where he came from and how the legend of Cypher first began. Before he became the most infamous man in the Imperium, Cypher wasn't even a person. It was actually a title. On Caliban, the homeworld of the Dark Angels, the Order of Caliban, which was the most powerful of the knightly orders on this world, secretly appointed a single member to become Lord Cypher. When chosen, the new Lord Cypher gave up his name and identity, living cloaked and hooded so that no one could recognize him. Now I know you guys are all thinking it. No, Cypher is not a Dementor. I really thought so too, but I did my research. He's not the mythical creature from Hogwarts. I know they look super similar, but trust me, they're not the same guy. He became the living embodiment of the Order's laws, customs, and discipline, advising the Masters, officiating ceremonies, and making sure the Order never strayed from its ideals. Across Caliban's history, at least 3 Lord Cyphers have been recorded. The first was an elderly human Cypher who advised Luther and Lionel Johnson during their campaign against the Great Beasts, dying before the Imperium arrived. After him, the second Cypher was a younger space marine, originally a mortal knight who later became a Dark Angel, rumored but unlikely to be a surviving Knight of Lupus, one of the many orders on Caliban, and in fact one of the greatest rivals of the Order. He served as an advisor during Luther's early rebellion, but was killed by our third Cypher identity, Zahariel El Zaras, a prominent psyker and librarian who executed the previous Lord Cypher during a coup and took the title for himself. As the Horus Heresy erupted, Cypher's true allegiance was a mystery, as he straddled the line between loyalty and betrayal. His story during the heresy is filled with secret agendas and battles that would decide the Imperium's fate. Essentially, it's confusing as fuck. Early in the war, Cypher assisted in a daring prison break on Caliban, freeing Garviel Loken and Iacton Cruz, the Half-Herd, 2 of Malcador the Sigillite's agents sent to test Luther's loyalty. Cypher guided them out of the dungeons, but when offered a place among the Knights Errant, he refused. Instead, he vanished back into the shadows, choosing to operate on his own, loyal but unremembered. And I'm going to go on a quick side tangent right here, a classic Falling Cow ramble, but this scene, which takes place in the novella Grey Angel, makes no fucking sense. On paper, it sounds like an interesting setup. Loken and the Half-Herd sneaking around Caliban to check if Luther is still loyal. But in practice, nothing comes of this.
Know your fucking place, trash!
Luther apparently has no idea the heresy is even happening. The Knights Errant escape with no real consequences, and the story never impacts the broader narrative ever again. Worse, the timeline raises questions. By this point, the heresy is well underway. Loken was already found by Garo years after Istvan III, and somehow Luther still hasn't got wind of Horus's betrayal? What? It just feels like a plot hole. And this Cypher doesn't even seem to be Zahariel, meaning it must be the younger Cypher who promptly dies off screen. Basically, the novel exists to shoehorn Cypher and Luther into a random Knights Errant subplot, and it ends up wasting the character altogether. Alright, rant over. Pretty much, I just feel like Black Library makes random novels up about Cypher during the Horus Heresy, and it completely ruins his character and creates so many plot holes with a timeline, I want to shoot myself with a potato gun.
This is a bummer, man. That's a bummer.
Alright, back to Zahariel. As the war reached Terra, Zahariel El-Zaras, now fully embracing the mask of Lord Cypher, took a far more active role. Returning to his duties as a librarian, Zahariel and a group of fallen librarians were sent by Luther as reinforcements to aid Corswain during the siege of Terra. They participated in a desperate defense of the Astronomicon, the psychic lighthouse that guided loyalist fleets attempting to relieve the siege. Though Cypher's loyalty was murky, Zahariel believed that if Horus won, his corruption would eventually consume Caliban. So for now, he sided with Corswain and the other Dark Angels. In the final, brutal stages of the siege, Zahariel fought against the Death Guard, even facing Typhus the Traveler himself. During the battle, Typhus managed to wound the masked Enigma, but Zahariel continued to fight and to desperately attempt to reactivate the Astronomicon to guide Rabute Gilliman's fleets to Terra. Though his psychic efforts failed, the beacon was ultimately restored by Euphrates Keeler and her pilgrims, driving back the traitors and saving the Imperium. At least for now. Zahariel, or I guess Cypher, survived the war on Terra and returned to Caliban, where his story would only grow far stranger. When the heresy finally ended, Lionel Johnson returned to Caliban expecting to reunite his legion, only to find Luther and the Fallen in full rebellion. The homeworld of the Dark Angels erupted into a civil war. From orbit, the Loyalist fleet bombarded the planet, shattering fortresses and tearing the surface apart, while the Lion, accompanied by the Legion, descended to confront Luther and his fallen Dark Angels. The battle was catastrophic. Luther, empowered by the Whispers of Chaos and the strange psychic power of Caliban itself, managed to strike down the Lion. But in that moment of victory, he faltered under the weight of his betrayal. The Chaos Gods, furious at their pawn's weakness, unleashed a massive warp storm that tore Caliban apart. Its surface shattered, and the traitor Dark Angels, which we all know as the Fallen, were sucked into the warp and scattered across time and space. Luther survived, broken in body and mind, and was imprisoned for 10,000 years in the depths of the rock. He would later claim that Corswain killed Cypher during the fall of Caliban, but like so much about the Fallen, the truth remains uncertain. Somehow, despite Luther's story, a new Cypher emerges in the 41st millennium. The hooded, gunslinging Enigma who continues to haunt the galaxy. So what has Cypher been up to in the current era? In the current era of Warhammer 40K, Cypher is the Imperium's most wanted man, a hooded gunfighter whose true identity remains a mystery. He is most famous for his twin pistol style, wielding a bolt pistol and a plasma pistol with supernatural precision, often cutting down foes in the chaos of battle without ever missing a shot. His distinct look, robes draped over power armor, twin pistols at the ready, and a mysterious sword at his back makes him instantly noticeable, perhaps intentionally. This appearance also seems to attract other fallen angels to his side, though how they communicate or why they are drawn to him is unknown. Cypher's most important possession is the mysterious blade tied to his back that he never draws. Rumors claim it is the Lion's sword, the broken blade of Lionel Johnson himself, and that Cypher intends to reforge it and present it to the Emperor, hoping to earn absolution for the Fallen. Others whisper he carries out a secret mission for the Emperor, possibly even communicating with him in ways no other mortal can. Cypher has appeared at key moments across the galaxy, turning up during the Terran Crusade, saving Rabute Gilliman on his way to Terra, infiltrating the Imperial Palace, and even reaching the Bridge of Ascension outside the Golden Throne before being told, "Not yet," by a custodian guided by the Emperor's will. He and his Fallen then escaped into the galaxy once more, leaving only confusion, dead pursuers, and even more unanswered questions in his wake. Today, Cypher remains a hooded hobo wandering the galaxy, always hunted by the Dark Angels, the Inquisition, and the Adeptus Custodes, yet never truly caught. Whether he is a heretic, a would-be redeemer, or the Emperor's hidden agent, only Cypher knows his true purpose. So let's answer the real question you're here for. Who is Cypher in the current setting? Well, I'm going to lay out some potential candidates, discuss how it could be them, and at the end of the video, I will make my prediction on who Cypher is based on the current lore. Thankfully, I've gathered up the Scooby-Doo gang, and we're gonna solve this mystery. Before continuing, Herd, drop who you think Cypher is before getting to the next part of this video. Let's get to the candidates. Our first candidate is Zahariel Zaras, a former Dark Angels librarian from the Horus Heresy and the most recent known identity of Cypher. Zahariel was a close ally of Luther and later became one of the fallen angels. His psychic powers and deep ties to Caliban make him one of the strongest candidates for the role of Lord Cypher. During the fall of Caliban, though, Zahariel dueled the legendary Corswain, the first captain of the Dark Angels, and it's unknown if Zahariel survived this duel. But Luther does state that Corswain slew him in single combat. After Zahariel, we have his slayer, Corswain. Corswain was a Lion Seneschal and one of the greatest warriors in the First Legion. He led the Loyalist forces on Caliban during the fall and reportedly fought Zahariel, then acting as Lord Cypher, in a legendary duel. A very interesting point is that during the events of the End and the Death, Corswain and Zahariel fought side by side in the desperate battle to reactivate the Astronomicon, clashing with the Death Guard under Typhus the Traveler. Corswain's interactions and quiet conversations with Cypher in this moment revealed a profound respect and understanding. He seemed to grasp that Cypher was more than just a space marine, he was a living symbol of the Dark Angel's oldest traditions, something that could not be allowed to die. This respect has fueled one of the most renowned theories that after the fall of Caliban, Corswain may have chosen to take up the mantle of Cypher himself, continuing the tradition and becoming the Hooded Hobo in the current setting. Our third candidate is Alfarius or Amigon.
What?
I know a lot of people are like, what the fuck, Fallen Gal, that's the silliest thing ever. And I'm not gonna lie, you're not wrong, it's pretty goddamn silly, but hear me out. Let me go over this candidate's theory. Hold on. The twin Primarchs of the Alpha Legion are the galaxy's ultimate masters of misdirection, infiltration, and psychological warfare. Known for disguises, deep cover operations, and their infamous I am Alfarius mantra, they thrive on confusing their enemies and rewriting reality to suit their schemes. Some theories suggest that one of the twins, or even both, although Alfarius is definitely dead, is swapping in or could be masquerading as Cypher, manipulating the Dark Angels and the Imperium for some long-term Alpha Legion objective. Just imagine the scenario. The Imperium's most wanted fugitive, secretly a Primarch, working towards a plan 10,000 years in the making. And while I will admit there's no real hard evidence in the lore to confirm this, and to put it honestly, there doesn't really make a lot of sense that the Alpha Legion would be trying to manipulate the Dark Angels, but Alfarius does have the ability to diminish his presence, which would make sense if he was trying to be Cypher. So I'm just putting it out there, maybe there's a chance that one of the bald-headed twins wants to masquerade as a hobo. I'm just saying. Our fourth candidate is a completely new character. Another popular theory is that Cypher might not be anyone we've met before. His mystery is his greatest weapon, and Games Workshop has left just enough breadcrumbs to keep fans guessing. If Cypher is a totally new character, this allows his eventual reveal to shock the fandom and rewrite expectations. He could be a secret fallen no one remembers, a descendant of the Order's original traditions, or even someone tied directly to the Emperor's mysterious plans, like Valdor. By keeping his face hidden and his history unclear, the lore writers have given themselves the ultimate wildcard. Cypher can be anyone, at any time, and his reveal can be tailored to whatever major story shakeup they want to deliver. And I'm gonna be honest, if they did this would be the laziest cop-out I've seen in my freaking life. Our fifth and final candidate is a collective identity. Perhaps the most fascinating theory is that Cypher isn't a man at all, but a legacy. In the days of the Order on Caliban, the title of Lord Cypher was passed from one knight to another, with each new bearer abandoning their identity to become a living symbol of the Order's traditions. Some fans believe this ritual continued secretly across the millennia, evolving into a hidden chain of successions among the fallen. If true, the Cypher we see in the 41st millennium would just be the latest link in an unbroken chain of hooded gunfighters, each serving a secret mission that spans generations. This would explain his impossible survival across centuries, the whispers of his presence in multiple places at once, and why he seems to draw fallen angels to him without ever needing to speak. He's more of an idea at this point, and ideas are pretty gosh darn hard to kill. But hold on. Before we get into who I actually think Cypher is, let's run through a few of the more creative ideas the Cow's Corner brain came up with. First, 3 watchers in the dark in a trench coat.
I'm going to buy a car today.
Yes, Cypher could just be 3 watchers in the dark, stacked on each other's shoulders, wobbling around under that robe like they're trying to sneak into an R-rated movie. Explains why he never talks. They're just too busy arguing about who's steering. Second, a disgruntled custodes on vacation. After 10,000 years of standing in the same hallway, one custodian just said, "Screw this, I'm going rogue." He grabbed a robe, dual-wielding pistols, and now everyone thinks he's Cypher. He's just trying to see the galaxy and sip a Tao Mai Tai in peace. My third fan theory, a displaced Clint Eastwood with a hoodie obsession. Imagine the warp snatched Clint Eastwood straight out of a spaghetti western, and he made the decision the galaxy needed a new gunslinger. He slapped on a hood, whispered,
"You're thinking, did he fire 6 shots or only 5? Now, to tell you the truth, I forgot myself in all this excitement. You've got to ask yourself the question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?"
And now he's the Imperium's most wanted man. His only weakness? A clearance sale at the Imperial Hoodie Depot. And last, but definitely not least, my fourth fan theory is he is Hermione Granger with a time turner and an American-level gun obsession. That's right, our girl Hermione discovered America, discovered Glocks, and said, "Accio Second Amendment."
Adium Leviosa.
She used her time turner to get to the 42nd millennium, and now is dual-wielding bolt pistols, quoting the Constitution to the Inquisition while screaming, "Wingardium lock and load." Alright. Enough silliness, let's get serious. Because I genuinely think Cypher is Corswain. Here's why. First, Corswain defeated Zahario, the Cypher of the Horse Heresy, during the fall of Caliban. That alone makes him the natural successor to the mantle of Lord Cypher. Also, the current Cypher shows no signs of psychic ability, which lines up perfectly with Corswain, who is a duelist and a warrior rather than a librarian. Then, there's the Lion's Sword. The Cypher we see in the 42nd millennium carries the legendary blade of Lionel Johnson, and that's no small thing. During the fall of Caliban, the Lion's final moments in the 30K era are spent whispering to a mysterious robed figure, almost certainly the new Cypher. I believe that figure was Corswain. It makes poetic sense. He's the bridge between the Legion's loyalists and the Fallen, the one person who knows the whole story from both sides. Corswain's entire purpose in the lore was to embody all the facets of the Dark Angels. He was the one knight everyone could look up to, a man of honor and clarity amidst a legion of secrets. If he became Cypher, his actions, though seemingly treasonous to the paranoid schizophrenics now running the chapter, would always be in the true best interest of the Dark Angels and the Imperium. Then there's the fact that Cypher wields dual pistols, but also lugs around the Lion's Sword. If he's Corswain, it makes sense as it would be a symbolic choice, giving up his identity as one of the Imperium's greatest duelists in order to serve the chapter with complete selflessness, stripped of his ego. I know some of you were thinking, hold up, Fallen Cow. If Cypher is constantly getting got in impossible situations, how the hell does he keep breaking out? Is this guy just Space Batman with plot armor? Well, maybe? But I've got a better answer for you. It's my belief that the Watchers in the Dark are helping him out. Just think about it. These mysterious, robed Caliban entities have been around since before the Imperium, lurking in the shadows and nudging fate in subtle ways. They move unseen, slip through the warp, and can appear or vanish at will. If Corswain really is Cypher, and if his mission ultimately serves the Lion's true vision for the Dark Angels, then the Watchers have every reason to protect him and guide him. In fact, Cypher seems to have a special relationship with them. The Watchers rarely reveal themselves, yet they have been seen at Cypher's side in moments of critical importance, almost as if they were guardians or messengers. They don't just show up for anyone, and when they do, it's almost always for someone who is carrying out a purpose they deem essential. We've already seen them intervene in key moments for the chapter. Now imagine one materializing silently in a warded Imperial cell, bypassing all defenses, simply unlocking the door and gesturing for him to follow. That would explain why no prison, whether it's the Rock, the Imperial Palace, or some Blackstone fortress, never seems able to hold Cypher for long. In other words, Cypher's great escape acts are still him using his own skill or cunning, but it appears that he has an ancient alliance of sorts with entities the Imperium barely understands. And if the Watchers are involved, then his mission is far more important than anyone realizes. And if you need a final piece of dramatic flair, just picture this excerpt. Ezekiel looked on in silence as a third figure entered the great hall of the tower, robed like the captive in the first cell within the Eye of Terror. Upon seeing the dying Primarch, he stopped in his tracks. A bolt pistol fell from one hand, a plasma pistol from the other, clattering against the stone floor. Slowly, he approached the lion and sank to his knees. "Come closer," the lion whispered. "There are things I must tell you, a task you must complete." The robed figure leaned in. Words were exchanged that none but the dying Primarch would ever know. When the lion's final breath escaped him, the figure wept, the tears of angels falling on their fallen master. This excerpt is taken from the Eye of Ezekiel, and to me, it confirms that Corswain is Cypher. Of all the possible theories, it only makes sense that Corswain would weep over the corpse of the lion. Corswain took the lion's final words and final mission and became Cypher to see it through. I mean, hell, he even recognizes the sword of Corswain, his own old sword taken from a fallen centuries later. I mean, the facts are there, people. It's definitely Corswain. And there you have it. One of the most mysterious figures in all of Warhammer 40K, a man whose every step ripples through the galaxy. Whether he's Corswain, a Primarch in disguise, a mantle passed down from millennia, or just three Watchers in the dark in a trench coat with a killer aim, Cypher's legend endures because he's the one loose thread in the Imperium that nobody can quite figure out. Maybe one day Games Workshop will finally pull back the hood and reveal the truth. But if you ask me, they never will. Because Cypher's powers lie in the fact that we don't know. He's the question mark with pistols, a living contradiction, and perhaps the only man in the galaxy who can still walk into the Imperial Palace, talk to the Emperor himself, and somehow still vanish into the night. So the next time you see that hooded hobo in the distance, don't blink, don't look away, because by the time you turn your head, he'll be gone. Also, quick channel update, your boy finally caved and set up both Patreon and YouTube memberships. Now don't worry, I will never do exclusive content. First off, I simply don't have the time, and second, why the hell would I lock my stuff behind a paywall? That sounds super lame. Not throwing shade at other creators, but I want all my nonsense free for everyone. That said, if you do want to support the channel in another way, both Patreon and memberships have multiple tiers with a lot of fun perks. We already have 3 amazing supporters from this month. Soft Use, Matadori, I think that's how you say that, and William Strong. And I'll be shouting out any new future subscribers for the next whole month, no matter what tier they picked. Big love to you three, you guys are the first ones. Don't worry though, I will be adding more emojis and badges once I figure out how all of this stuff works. So stay tuned for that mess. I will be dropping both links down in the description and in the comment section. So if you're interested, go check them out. I'm also very close to finally dropping my Discord server. It's been a long time coming and I'm not the most tech savvy, so I'm not gonna lie, my girlfriend has been kind of doing most of the heavy lifting on that one. But we are very close to finishing the amazing Cows Barnyard. Whenever it's done, I will be dropping it in a post and probably every single video until there's a trillion cows in there. But I'm really looking forward to that. There's going to be a whole power scaling main server, so we can just chat about power scaling for hours and hours and hours. What fun. This was a pretty fun video to make, so if you guys liked it, make sure to leave a like, comment, and as always, my favorite herd, stay milked, stay thirsty, and I'll see ya in the next video.